Then after the morsel, Satan entered into him. And we have this strange command: what you are going to do, do quickly. It could mean that the Lord foresaw that to make his damnation slightly less, to act quickly might diminish the maximum. Sudden crimes of passion can be less culpable than those premeditated at length. Judas wasn't entirely bad, because we have the fact that he recognized that he had betrayed innocent blood, and this conscience money came back. The trouble is that it didn't go the right way. Whatever this remorse was, then, despite the Lord's mercy, went into despair, and not conversion, as in the case of Simon Peter, who in this very same gospel is seen to be presumptuous somewhat, and is warned that actually he will fall. The difference is, as we see in the story of his fall later on, he goes out and weeps bitterly. They're not tears of despair. And it's healed by the threefold demand afterwards. Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me? And there's an insistence that there be 3 yeses to make up for the 3 no's. And the relationship is completely healed. And eventually, this other prophecy then comes into play: you will not follow me now, but afterwards. And that means, we know now from looking back, that he would share exactly actually his passion. And at that point he was so humbled that he asked his executioners if they could put him upside down, because he didn't feel worthy to have the same death as his Saviour on that cross. It's on the Mamertine Hill in Rome, and underneath you can go to the dungeon where he spent the night before. And then we have this terrifying one-liner. So after receiving the morsel, he immediately went out, and it was night in the nooks. And that is typical of John, the 2 levels of narration, the visible and the invisible. That night was thick and dark, and Judas was swallowed up in it. Unfortunately, we know now that what the Lord said when he talked about Judas, it would be better for that man if he had not been born, meant just that, because his voice has come out in the exorcism. He's down there. And actually he's so far down there that he's high in collusion with Lucifer, it seems, tempting other souls to leaving the priesthood, possibly even the bishop, because he was a bishop, and certainly suicide. I think he could be well involved with that. And suicide now is very fashionable. We notice, however, that light coming in the way that the other end, those highly graced, are close to the Lord. John, who refers to himself always as the one that the Lord loved, has this very moving intimacy. So, lying thus close to the breast of Jesus, he said to him, Lord, who is it? So Simon Peter gets to the Lord through him. Interesting. And he's the one who's there without any fuss or bother with our Blessed Lady and the holy women at the foot of the cross, whereas the others, as the Lord foretold, deserted him, at least at that point. These days, for us are moments to enter into that drama and to be aware that it is still there. The Lord is still being flogged. There's huge abuse of the Blessed Sacrament, satanic rites, made very easy now with communion in the hand, all over the place. And I repeat what I said yesterday, in case you are ever caught in that situation, that no priest will give Holy Communion in your mouth, on your tongue, or kneeling. There is a reverent way of getting around it so that you're not shut out of Holy Communion for that issue alone. Is to remember that in early times the practice was to hold out both hands as a throne. That's very dignified, not any of this shabby thing, especially with one hand as some people do, but actually in humble looking up to the Lord of hosts before you. It's even better if one can do it on one's knees, or actually get round it by doing it on one knee, because we're not supposed to anyway kneel or make a profound bow before Holy Communion. But this then is ancient, and this other bit doesn't have to follow, which is modern. That bit there is not the old practice. That is recent, and very recent, and never even thought of in the early centuries. And I've noticed in Italy how, without being told by anyone, good nuns quite often would by instinct do very well this bit and wouldn't do that bit. They would do, as was done in the early church, adore the Blessed Sacrament in their hand and not take it, but as it were kiss it and take it directly from the other hand. So that's actually quite reverent, and one can lick the hand afterwards to make sure there's nothing hanging, touching the hand afterwards from the sacred species, because every crumb is the Lord's body. It's substantially changed. So just to be aware, there are ways and means of not going into the either-or camp, especially under these conditions of being forced to go against one's conscience. The conscience can adjust itself if it knows what it's doing, but it has to work it out. One always obeys the conscience, but one can form the conscience to know, actually, well, how can I adjust this? So that might help you in a situation of crisis, which is not going to go away, and it's being taken advantage of by you know who. So just be aware that we're up against it. It's actually quite obvious what's going on. Old Nick is really at it now, and he's getting huge victories. So just be aware, this battle between light and dark is out there, and to know that we are the only country in the world, as far as I know, except for Afghanistan and China, where one cannot at all get hold of the sacraments. So that's interesting, given what Ireland was only 30 years ago. The old saying, who done it? And the answer would be, he did it to whom it profits. Is fecit qui prosit. I leave you with that, my friends. So enter into mode on these holy days. There are some things that can wait. If one isn't obliged to work professionally, which you might be, you can at least mentally plug in for the days of grace. Calm yourself down, take the scriptures, follow the Lord, and he will not be short of grace to his own who love him. By the way, to console yourself, they were hugely faithful to women. That is your role. Questo Vangelo è un dramma, questa battaglia cosmica tra la luce e le tenebre. È uscito, vediamo qui, e era notte, un versetto che dice tutto. Satana è entrato dentro, lo dice, e dunque condotto nella notte da una forza che esce dalla notte. Lucifero è in buio totale, mentre San Giovanni, più giovane, più fedele in questo momento, è in luce, si riposa sul petto del Signore, e tramite lui Simon Pietro arriva a avere la risposta: chi lo farà? Questo atteggiamento di San Giovanni sarebbe anche da chiedere, soprattutto nella notte della Cena Domini, in cui si riposa un po' accanto a Gesù, durante la sua agonia e dopo anche in prigione. Tante chiamate sono state sentite in questa notte al sacerdozio. Serve anche un momento di pensarci, perché anche lì il demonio attacca un odio perfetto del sacro e di quello che lo produce, il sacerdozio. davanti a noi abbiamo evidenza chiara di questa attività satanica adesso, le chiese chiuse, assenza di sacramenti, la gente debole senza forza divina, per mesi e mesi, e 2 Pasque di seguito.
Father, we adore you. Lay our lives before you. I will love you.